Good evening and welcome to the show. Welcome to a brand new year. My name is Conrad Weaver. I'm your host. I'm also the director, producer, candlestick maker, all the above for the PTSD 911 documentary. Thank you for joining me tonight. My voice is sounding a bit wonky because I'm fighting off a cold, but hopefully that'll be healed in just the next couple of days. So if you're a praying kind, pray for me that I will get better. But we'll get better soon. So in the meantime, you got to put up with me with my deep bass voice tonight. So hopefully you can put up with that. Thank you for joining us wherever you are watching from. Please leave a comment in a note in the comments. Let us know where you're coming from. Let us know if you're a first responder or not, and perhaps what type of agency you work with. That would be fantastic. We have we're just going to talk tonight. We're just going to just kind of open mic night, sort of. And I'm going to bring on my buddy Matty here in a minute. But I wanted to first of all wish you a very happy New Year. It is a brand new year. It is a brand new opportunity for all of us to do better and to live our best life. And I hope that you are making plans for that this year, to live your best life, to take care of yourself, to do the things that are hard to take care of yourself. It's a hard job to manage one's life to get to where you want to go. And sometimes we have to pick our heart. And I think we need to all focus on what can I do today that will get me to the place I want to be tomorrow, because the decisions I make today affect what I do tomorrow and affect my life tomorrow. So on that note, we're excited about a lot of things happening with our film project. As you know, our film is completed. We had our premiere in the Dallas, Texas area, in Irving, Texas, back in November. And we are making plans all across the country for events. And we're going to talk about some of those in just a minute. And we are really excited about bringing the PTSD 911 film to the world very soon, including our coast to coast bike ride, as I'm wearing the shirt tonight, if you can see it. We're going from coast to coast, from Oregon to Maryland next summer. But in the meantime, we are booking events all across the country. And if you would like to book an event with us, if you'd like to partner with us to bring the film, I encourage you to do that. And how you can do that is go right to our website, ptsd911movie.com. Click on the screenings button and fill out a form and let us know. Or just shoot me an email, conrad@conjostudios.com or cweaver@ptsd911movie.com, and just say, hey, I want to host a screening, and we will get you connected. We want to do that. We want to bring the movie to your city, to your community. We are booking events, like I said, all across the country, and we're excited to next week, a week from, well, last night, a week from yesterday, we will be in Huntington Beach, California. And one of the people who is helping me arrange that and to organize that is our very own Matty Fiorenza. Matty, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you doing tonight?
Oh, fantastic. I think I'm fighting off the same cold, but I'm doing great. Just excited about finally bringing the film to Southern California. So many people have been asking about it, and it's obviously it really hits home because it's my home, and a lot of the film was shot down here in Southern California, and with a lot of people that I'm close to and in my different circles. So I'm really excited about it and can't wait to see how it all turns out.
Yeah. So Matty, just for those of you who are watching and don't know, Matty is one of the primary characters in the film. He is a now recently retired firefighter from Anaheim. Matty, I want to ask you this. Why did you say yes to being in this film?
Oh, I think for a couple reasons. One, getting to know you and Nancy, because I had been asked, and I was being asked to do a lot of different things when I was doing a lot of work in the mental health arena for first responders, and once I got to know you and your mission and your intention, and the fact that it really, it was really a subject that touches my heart, of course, because I was so impacted by PTS, and you know, and then once I got to know you, when you came out and started filming, I knew I had made the right decision, especially when I started to struggle, because I was really at the top of my game when we, first decided to take on this adventure together, and that's in the film. It was one of those things that when we talked, when I started to struggle, I knew I'd made the right decision, because out of all the projects I was working on, this is the one that kind of lasted, and you kind of stuck with me, and we become really good friends since then, like almost like family. So
Yeah, I totally agree, and I want to say that once we met you and heard your story and just saw your passion, um, yeah, you including you and your wife Moose in the film, is a huge part of this story, and you guys really did a great job of being willing to share your story. That's a hard thing to do. That's a hard thing to sit in front of a camera and just let your life hang out and let the world see it. And so I want to say thank you. Thank you for being willing to be vulnerable,
yeah,
to share your story. And because I know the impact that that has on the viewer, on the people who watch it, the
yeah,
impact is huge. And the lives that are being touched by this and by your story are very impactful. And I want to say thank you for that.
yeah,
Thank
of
you
course,
for being willing to do that and to share your story. The struggle's real.
yeah,
We just, I just saw another email today and saw another story today where a law enforcement officer here in Maryland died by suicide this week or late last week, and the struggle continues, and the challenge of mental health and the issues with first responders continue. And our mission with this film, from the beginning, has been to make impact and to really make an impact with first responders. And I want to share with people, three of the primary goals for our film. One is to raise awareness. I mean, obviously we want to raise awareness about this issue and about the issue of mental health. And I think as a whole, I've seen in the 3 years that I've been working on this, I've seen the dialogue increase. I've seen an uptick in the people in the conversations around this subject. And I think that's important. I think we need to raise that awareness. But I think also the general population, civilians, don't really understand what first responders do and experience. And so that's part of the goal and the mission for this film. The second thing is to help break that stigma of asking for help. You were one who raised your hand and said, "Hey, I have a problem. I need help." But it wasn't easy for you, right?
right. No, not at all.
Yeah, it was a challenge, and it's still a challenge, and we want to help through the stories that we tell with this film. We want to help break that stigma of asking for help. And the third thing we really want to do is inspire change. Um, this is probably the hardest thing, is to change how an agency deals with the mental health issues, but that's what we want to inspire. And that's why we brought on some of these case studies of agencies that are doing things better than others. I mean, no one's perfect. Everyone has challenges, but these agencies that we covered in the film are making steps toward doing the right thing. And that's why these are the three things: raise awareness, smash the stigma, and then inspire change. And hopefully, this film is doing that as we roll it out across the country.
Yeah.
Uh, just on a personal level, what do you hope that your story does for this film?
Well, I think obviously, I think it really hits each one of those points, because as you talk about those things, I think about my own life, and what happened with me. It was always right. We, for the most part, we know the problem now as a community. And when I say community, I mean community of first responders. So that's why it's really, really important to get the general public to the film, and to show it to the people that make the decisions, for first responder agencies, the lawmakers and whatnot, because they, you know, for example, and it's really touched me last night watching the football game last night. A lot of people witnessed a cardiac arrest on TV, and and it was, I'm still shaken up by it,
Mhm.
and I think about how that becomes, it's just the daily grind when you're on the job. I mean, this is something we see over time, and and so I think it's important for all kinds of people to show up to the film and to raise awareness, and then to smash the stigma. Uh, a couple times when during my career when I asked for help, they just didn't know what to do with me. And it was no fault of the organization or the decision makers. It wasn't something that was on the radar. So I think the inspiring change and the stigma part kind of go hand in hand. It's like, okay, if we're asking people, first responders, to ask for help, then we better know what we're going to do with them
Mm,
once they do.
right.
Do we have vetted um, treatment centers? Do we have vetted clinicians? Do we have good systems put in place, algorithms built into our, and are we working with our risk management? Are we working with our HR departments to come to an agreement as to how we're going to take care of our people when this happens, so that people aren't afraid to ask for help? Because I know a lot of times, I was, because there's so many unknowns. It's like,
Mhm.
I didn't know. I didn't know what they were going to do with me. I didn't, and eventually, I try to get help out on my own. And
What would you say to that leader, maybe a battalion chief or a captain, maybe a chief, who says, "We have EAP."
yeah, um, well, I went to EAP, and my experience was not all that great.
And
Because
and just to say that there are EAPs that are wonderful.
right, no, for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, the EAP that we had originally, just it they really weren't culturally competent. That's what we're talking about here, right?
yeah, right,
Because there are EAPs that are culturally competent. They know what they're doing. There's plenty of them out there. I think it's um, it's really about, bringing some of these agencies to the forefront of what's available out there as far as the AP goes, and having, because there are lots of them out there, and I think that our management is getting better at, talking about this issue, and really vetting out good resources for their organizations. I just had a great call the other day with Cal Fire. That's a very large agency in California, and they really have streamlined a really vigorous vetting process for people that want to, you know, offer quote unquote mental health services for first responders, because there's all kinds of things popping up, and it's important that, number one, they're talking about it. Number two, that they're vetting out certain, organizations, and and really looking at what's the best. But I really do feel like, I mean, at least in California, a lot of chiefs are looking at this issue, and it's hard not to at this
right.
point.
Well, when you have so many people who are suffering, so many people who are taking their own lives or dealing with, alcohol, dealing with drug abuse, dealing with other things in their life, you have to take a look at that. A little teaser in the film, we have a police chief who says, I see these young people come through and their lives, they start out healthy and strong, and then I see them, pretty soon they're drinking too much, pretty soon they're going through a divorce, pretty soon they're they're gaining weight. Well, all that are symptoms of a problem, right? And so then that becomes the chief. He said that then it becomes my responsibility. It becomes my responsibility to do what I need to do to help them achieve, whatever they to succeed at their job.
Right. Yeah, and I think, as far as the the chief positions, or the leadership positions, I've noticed more and more agencies are having classes for their leadership, to be able to identify the signs and symptoms of post traumatic stress, to be able to talk to their people in a way that's not threatening, or, you know just more on a level of wanting to actually help their employees, because that's what it comes down to, right? a lot of our management, they're just not trained. They just don't know what to look for. They don't know what to do. They don't know what what each agency has in place for mental health. So, and I see a lot more agencies and I see a lot more leaders stepping up and giving management classes to the leadership when it comes to mental health. And that's really good. That's what we need. I think you muted yourself there, Conrad.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so we were at Cal Fire at their training center while we were making this film, and we got to see them do a train the trainer when it comes to yoga, and they brought in a yoga instructor that was amazing, and these were leaders who had come, who were getting trained on how to take yoga back to their departments, and it was really cool to see that. And now they're saying, hey, we're seeing these things happen organically within the agency around, across the state. And so those are the things that we want to promote with this film. And I want to say, address something that you and I were talking before we came on air, that this film is, it's 84 minutes long, and it has a storyline of a couple of individuals that we track through. It has some sound bites from mental health experts and leaders in law enforcement and in first responder community, but it's not the answer to everything. We don't answer every question. We don't address every modality. We don't address every type of therapy that there is. It's because we don't have hours and hours and hours available to watch a movie. That would take a movie that would take way too long. But however, we are developing a product that will go along with this film as an educational toolkit that we're going to be releasing later this year. And we're getting ready to put together a team to really hone that down to with some amazing resources that we have, stuff like doing training with yoga, doing finding out what other agencies are doing. One of the agencies that we feature in our film is Garland Police Department in Garland, Texas, and they have some amazing things that they do. We show a little bit of that in the film, but we're going to dive deeper into that in the toolkit. And so we're really excited about bringing that product to market later this year as we continue to work on this. It's a work in progress. And so if you come to the screening in Huntington Beach next week and you say, well, you don't show this or you don't show that, well, there's only 84 minutes that we had in the film. So we would love to show everything, but we can't. And even pieces of Matty's story and pieces of some of the other people's story in the film, we don't nearly show all of those things just because we can't physically put it all in there. And so I want people to know that there are lots of things that we would love to have put in this film, but we just couldn't because of time. So when you first showed, well, actually, when you first saw this film and then we had the premiere,
Mm-hmm.
what was your biggest takeaway? I know you're in the film, your story is being
Yeah.
told in the film. What was one of your big takeaways?
Well, first of all, I didn't know how it was going to turn out, but seeing your work, first of all, and seeing the Axel hears you, but seeing how it all came together, seeing how your skills as a filmmaker, that I was like, wow, like not just because I'm in it and because we kind of hung out. I was really impressed by the way it all turned out. It was really well done. So I mean that's what struck me at first, and of course, just watching the story unfold with people that I became very close to, like Desiree and Nicole and I, we built a relationship since then, and so just seeing the impact it had on the people in the audience, and just the um, I don't know, it was all kind of really not overwhelming, but it was amazing how many people were coming up afterwards, or how many people have reached out to me since then, and they were like, wow, like Axel. Um, and I think that the biggest takeaway is how much of an impact it's had on people. I think, and that's the point, right?
Mhm.
The point is,
Absolutely.
You
I
know,
mean, if it doesn't have impact, then I don't want to make a movie. I want
right?
to make a film that has impact.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so good. That's really what we want. In fact, there was a gentleman standing in the back of the theater there in Irving that uh, I saw, and he had tears coming down his face, and it was only what 10 minutes into the film, and I was just want to kind of make sure he's okay, and he was just like, man, this thing needs to be shown to every FBI academy, and so that made me feel good. It's like, wow, that's what I want to hear. I want to make a film that makes impact. And when I invest my time and my life and resources into a project like this, I want it to have impact. And if it doesn't, I just don't want to do it. That's
yeah,
why that's one reason I'm kind of phasing out my corporate work. Is because yeah, it brings in money and all that, but it doesn't have impact as a project like this do. So I'm
yeah.
really excited to be able to deliver this to the world. And I want to bring on another guest tonight to our discussion here, Mark. Mark
Yeah, what's up,
Worshing,
buddy?
Nope.
welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
So, Mark, let our audience know who you are and what do you do.
So my name is Mark Worshing. I'm a police officer. I'm starting my 28th year in a couple of months. I work for Huntington Beach Police Department here in Southern California. I've worked a whole bunch of different assignments, but I currently am one of our helicopter pilots. So the last 18 years, I've been flying around, chasing all the bad guys and getting involved in stuff
Do you ever getting into those chases that we see on TV sometimes?
all the time. And guaranteed, if it's in Orange County, I'm most likely either flying one of two of the aircraft that are involved.
Wow, sounds like an exciting job. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for serving your community in that way, because we need great helicopter pilots to do all those fun, exciting things, sometimes scary things, right? And, so tell me a little bit about. I know you and Matty know each other. We're bringing the film to Huntington Beach next Monday, this coming Monday, at the Mariners Church in Huntington Beach, and we're excited to bring the film there. Mark, tell me why you're excited to bring this film to your community.
Well, I'm excited because this is one of those things in law enforcement and in fire that for so many years was frowned upon talking about. When I was a new police officer, the way we were told to deal with things is you hit the bottle and you just deal with it. So, and that's the way that things used to be done. And this is the way things need to be done. We need to understand that there is a problem and that it's okay to have actual feelings. And as long as you know how to deal with that and who to reach out to for help, everything's going to be okay as long as you are okay to talk to people. And I just think that for so long, there was a stigma within first responders, police, fire, military, that if you didn't feel okay, that you just buried it and you dealt with it on your own. So now to actually be okay to talk about things and to realize that you're not going crazy, that, just normalizing how you're feeling is okay. So I'm excited that this is getting out there because it's way overdue. And the last 20 plus years, I've been on our trauma response team. So anytime anybody sees dead kids, officers are assaulted, shootings or anything, we roll our team out. And we have been doing this for a long time where you identify signs of post-traumatic stress. You tell the officers that this is what you can expect, that you're not going crazy, that if you're up for 2 days, you're crying, it's all normal, but you give them tools to deal with it. So I am so happy that you are bringing this to light. And I think you are going to save lives by having a discussion like this in a film.
So, Mark, let me ask you this. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what do you do to take care of yourself to deal with things like this that you face?
So I have a very awkward routine. So I get up in the morning and before I start my workouts, I jump in a cryo chamber, negative 150 degrees below zero.
Wow.
That's how I start my day. And there are studies out there that show that helps with post-traumatic stress. And I can honestly say that when I started doing that, I believe that it helped my post-traumatic stress. I have a regimen that I work out routinely. I meditate. That's where Matty and that's where I met Matty. I had a fatal helicopter crash about 4 or 5 years ago. Couldn't get the image of the crashing helicopter out of my mind. And I had seen Matty at a presentation that we had done up in Los Angeles. And we hit it off. We exchanged numbers. And for some reason, I reached out to him. And he taught me how to meditate. And it's part of my routine now. And for me, that's huge. And obviously, I keep my diet pretty clean. And I don't drink alcohol very, very infrequently, I should say. And I just live a healthy lifestyle. I'm married to an awesome wife and got a couple great kids. And I'm very active in my family and our church and all of their sports. So that's kind of my routine.
You know, one of the things you hit on there was your diet. And I think that's something that I want to explore a little more. And I think I need to find someone to get on my podcast to talk about diet and how diet impacts our brain. Because I think that's a huge thing, you know, because whatever goes into our mouth affects our whole being, right? And I think that we need to take a closer look at diet, including alcohol, including, you know, all those things that we eat to see how that affects us and how that helps us live our life to live. If we want to live our best life, then we got to eat the best things that are best for us. And so how do you manage that? How do you manage your diet?
So again, I'm kind of a freak when it comes to dieting. My wife and I are kind of both the same way. I fast. So I don't start eating until noon. My eating periods are from 12 to 8. And what I typically do is I eat lean meats and I try to stay away from sugars. I eat sweet potatoes for my carbohydrates, broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, lots of, you know, when I was young, there was a stigma about don't eat fats. Well, fats are actually really good for you as long as you're eating the right fats. So a big part of my diet are nuts that are high in fat and protein. So when I snack, I usually have some form of nut, and that's pretty much it. And then I drink at least a gallon of water a day. I have one of those jugs that measures a gallon, and it's time stamped on the side, so you can kind of see if you're on par for the day. Because I think you have to flush your body of water. Of course, I add some sugar-free flavoring in there just because I have a hard time just drinking straight water. So I do that as a cheater, but that's my diet. And when I'm 95% on all the time, and I feel great as long as I'm doing this routine and part of my diet and my workout regimen. I feel great.
And I suppose for your particular job, you need to be on your best game because you're flying thousands of feet in the air with, millions of dollars worth of equipment, and your life and everyone's life, in that helicopter is, in your hands, so to speak.
Without a doubt. And, a lot of the things that we do, you have to self-check, and that's just kind of a rule in aviation where if, you feel a certain way, if you're sick, you have to be able to have the ability just to pull yourself out of it. So by having a spot on diet and, feeling good, you can come into work and you can push through the shift, no problem. And you're right. You have to be on your A game because there's a lot of times when if you're chasing a bad guy down the freeway, you're going to have 3 to 5 other helicopters with you within a couple hundred feet. And there is no time for error in that. So if you're supposed to be flying at 1,000 feet, you have to fly at 1,000 feet. But as you're transitioning through airspace and trying to keep up with the bad guy's car and look down and get frequencies to change to different airports, you're multitasking. And when you're multitasking, you have you typically will descend on accident. So if you're off at all, you potentially could have a fatal collision, which obviously you don't want to have.
Sure. Man, that's in an airspace that's probably one of the busiest in the country as well, because you got how many airports there that you have to wrangle around, right?
Without a doubt. So this is without a doubt the busiest airspace in the world. And that's why a lot of international students train here because it's so busy. So in Orange County, we fly right in the middle of Huntington Beach, so it's actually uncontrolled airspace. But right next to us is John Wayne Airport, Los Al, Long Beach. You have LAX a little bit higher, and then as you go north, and most of our criminals that we're seeing nowadays are coming down from LA, hitting Orange County, and they run back up, and you're having to transition through, Hawthorne, Torrance, right into LAX, Santa Monica. So it's very busy.
Mm-hmm. I could probably talk to you all day about aviation because that's been one of my things that I've always wanted to do is fly, not necessarily helicopters, but fixed wing has always been my fascination. But one of these days I'll be able to do that. I've flown in small planes and taken the controls, and it's a lot of fun. And I've flown in some helicopters, which is a lot of fun too. But I could talk all day, but we won't. We'll diverge from that conversation. We'll save it for another time.
Lucky. I've wrangled up myself some pretty cool, amazing people on my journey, and Mark's definitely one of them.
For sure. So just a little sidebar. I have a friend who has a son who is a Navy pilot down in San Diego, and he flies one of them big gray helicopters for the Navy. So hopefully I get to see him next week when I'm out there, but we'll see. So let's talk about our event next week, Huntington Beach. I'm going to bring up a little screen here that kind of gives the lets people know the information. So January 9th, that is Monday, we will be at Mariners Church in Huntington Beach. That's at 7822 Warner Avenue, right there in Huntington Beach. I think it's a former theater, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to be there. I'll be there at least an hour early. So if you want to come, and we'll do a meet and greet there, we can talk and hang out. And then at 7:00, we'll have an opening, and we'll show the film. And following the showing of the film, we will have a Q&A with a group of people that we've assembled from the local community. Myself and Matty will be a part of that, and a few other people. And we'll do a discussion about the subject matter that we're talking about and about the film. And so if you would like to come and be a part of that, we would invite everybody to come. Whether you're a first responder or not, especially first responders, but also bring your family, bring your neighbors, bring those people who don't know anything about first responders, because I think it's important for them to know and experience what first responders face. And so if you want to know where to get tickets, go to our website. Probably the easiest thing is go to ptsd911movie.com/tickets, and you can select Huntington Beach right there and buy your ticket. They're only $10. They go to help support the film, and they go to help support first responders as well. So we are giving back as a part of that ticket purchase. You will help first responders directly. So get on the website, order your tickets. We have, I think, 500 and some seats available there in the theater. So let's fill it up. Let's bring people from all over the place and fill up that theater to tell this story. I think it's an important story to tell. And we want to get as many people there as possible. So spread the word, share it on our social media page, share our YouTube channel, share all the channels that we can. Even on Instagram, we're on Instagram, share those channels so that people can come and get there. So I want to ask either one of you two guys, do you have any questions for me?
Go ahead, Mark.
What made you make a film like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I'm a filmmaker. I produce documentaries, and I was working on a film a few years ago, back in 2017, about the opioid crisis. And I was on ride-alongs. And on one of those ride-alongs, we were called to an overdose scene, and that was ended up being a fatal overdose. And because of that impact that it had on me, and I went home that afternoon. It's like, okay, what did I just see? There was chaos in the house. There was screaming. There was yelling. There was, officers and first responders that were just kind of just hanging out, and it's just another Tuesday for them. And that got me thinking about, man, how do these scenes affect first responders? And then I had a conversation with the officer I was with, and through that conversation and through some research, I was like, wow, this is the problem. This is an issue. And then I always do research. Okay, who else has told this story? And 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, there was very little about, there was no documentaries for sure about this subject with first responders. There's lots of films about veterans and the issues surrounding veterans, which is a very serious and important issue. But there was nothing about first responders that I could find. And so I said, you know what? I think this is my thing. And I just saw that Desiree's in the chat, and she says, I remember that day. And she was the one I was with when we talked about that issue. And so it was partly because of Desiree's encouragement to me to make this film, and little did we know that she would be a part of this project to tell her story about post-traumatic stress. And so so that's where this project came from. And then for the past 3.5 years, I've been meeting great people like Matty and others who are willing to sit down in front of a camera and tell their story. And it's such a privilege for me and an honor for me to do that, to tell these stories that matter, in subject matters that matter. And we just want to make an impact. That's what we want to do.
Well, that's great. And what I love about this is, for some reason right now, departments, when we have officers or firefighters commit suicide, we want to pretend like it didn't happen. So they don't talk about it. Why are we not saying that officer killed himself? He committed suicide. And the reason he did that, a lot of times they leave notes, was because of A, B, C, and D. By not talking about that, by not saying that's what happened from the department, you're almost making it look like, hey, officers, or hey, firefighters, we don't want to even acknowledge that this is going on. So it's nice to see that we're talking about this. And I just would hope that moving forward, agencies would, if they decide to do a press release about an officer or firefighter that killed themselves, hey, it was a suicide and most likely it was post-traumatic stress related. Just say it like it is, and then maybe more officers and firefighters to actually talk about this and realize that it's not a stigma. It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. And I want to say this, that, we featured Garland Police Department in our film as a model for how things can be done. And they are doing a fantastic job. And unfortunately, soon after the film came out, they had a suicide in their agency, one of their leaders. And it was a tragedy day. He had been diagnosed with cancer and it came back, and it was just a compound issue. Well, the Chief Brian came out with a press release and said, you know what, this officer died by suicide and we're going to honor him. Yes. He gets full honors. And what a statement for leadership to admit this is, we have this amazing wellness culture in our agency. He calls it a culture. It's not just a program, it's a culture. We have this wellness culture, and yet one of our own takes his life. And through that, they were able to, he was given honors at the funeral, and it wasn't something that was shoved under the rug. Actually last year, maybe a year and a half ago, I interviewed a widow of a deputy who died by suicide. Very different story. And if you go back to the archives in the podcast, you'll hear her story of how her husband, the sheriff, was like, no officer may come to the funeral in uniform. We don't want to do any honor to this guy. What a tragedy. What a tragedy that is. But yet here's Garland Chief, Chief saying, yeah, it's a tragedy. He died by suicide, and we're going to honor him. And I think that's the way it should be. If your trauma, your stress induced by your job, leads you down that path, first of all, hope you can get help. But if that tragedy happens, let's honor those people as to how they lived, not to how they died, but let's honor them how they lived. And I think that's what we need to do.
Without a doubt. And we're very fortunate at Huntington Beach. Chief Eric Parra is a huge advocate of wellness. And, we're working on some things behind the scenes where, if an incident does happen, you can get help right away. There are a lot of programs out there right now where, if something happens, you can, but we're really trying to streamline that in Huntington Beach, where it happens immediately. So you can immediately start getting help and deal with the problem. So, and our chief is a huge fan of dogs. We had unfortunately, a fatal helicopter crash where one of our pilots was killed about a year ago. And, the impact of support dogs was amazing. We had dogs around the station after our officer was killed, and it was amazing how that dog would come in the room, and all of a sudden everybody started feeling happy. It just changed the element of the room, which was amazing. So we're actually looking at getting, and our chief is all about getting us a dog at our department. So you have to be progressive in that sense. You have to look at taking care of the officers and the firefighters, and just talking about exactly what we're talking about, I think, is so important. You will save lives by having this film. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, dogs are great, and we have a dog in the film, right, Matty?
Yeah, he's right there on the couch. Axel Rose. Yep. Yeah, and he's actually, we're building a regional peer sport team for canines right now, and we've actually responded out into Riverside with the canines. So it's really cool to see how that's all coming together, and how more agencies are open to having the dogs. Because, like you said, Mark, there's something about them. They just, if you don't want to talk to a person, and you may not want to, there's nothing like petting on a dog for sure, and having that dog love on you. It's real healing in itself. So
yeah, it's amazing. Well, if you are in Southern California, you are going to be the next that we're going to show this film to, Huntington Beach, on January 9th. Please get your tickets. Go to our website, get your tickets. And then we will be in San Diego a few days later on January 12th, 6:30 p.m. at Rock Church in downtown San Diego. We'd love to fill that venue. It's 3,500 seats. That's a lot of people to fill, but we'll pack them in if we can. So if you are in San Diego, please get your tickets for San Diego showing on January 12th. If you're in Huntington Beach, come join us at Mariners Church on January 9th at 7 p.m. We'd love to see you there. We have amazing things happening with the film going forward. I want to share with you our website. Let me see if I can share this screen here. Let me see how to do that. I forget how to do this. Maybe I won't. Oh, here we go. Share screen. I'm going to share my second screen here. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, here's our website. So next summer, we are going coast to coast. If you want to learn more about our coast to coast tour, and perhaps you are in the route of that trip, go to our website, go to ptsd911movie.com/coast to coast, and you'll go to this page. And at the bottom of the page, you have cities and screening dates on our bike tour. We launch on May 13th from Astoria, Oregon, and then Portland, and then all across the northern part of the U.S., Des Moines, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Parkersburg, all the way down to Ocean City, Maryland. It's going to be an amazing trip. Yes, my buddy John, who I think he's in the audience tonight. I'll shout out to John. We are going to be riding across the country on bicycles. Yes, pedal bicycles. And no, they are not e-bikes. We're not going to be assisted by power. We're going to be human power across the country. It's going to be an amazing trip. And part of the reason I wanted to do this is, one, I've been working with films about mental health and wellness for the past 5 or 6 years, and I just needed some time to cleanse my mind, just to get out there. And I think that, and it's also a way to show that, hey, health is important to mental health. Physical health is important, tie into mental health. And so our bike ride is going to help do that. But that's just from May to July. In the meantime, we are booking events all across the country. We are working on events for Northern California. We're working on events from Northern California. We're working on events in Denver, Colorado, just everywhere that people are wanting this film. And the best way to find out about that is on our website, ptsd911movie.com. Keep attached to our website. If you go to our website, be sure to fill out the information about our emails. I send weekly emails. I won't spam you, I promise, but we send updates every week about the film and about where we're going. And you can get information about events there. So we want to come to your community. We want to come to your city, to your neck of the woods. We want to bring the film. We want to partner with you to put on an event. And everywhere we go for these events, including Huntington Beach next week, as well as San Diego, we are going to have first responder peer supporters. We're going to have therapists and people there who are there to help you if you get triggered, if you need to talk to someone about the issues that you're dealing with. We'll have people available at these events, and every event that we have across the country, we are going to have those type of people there so that you can get immediate help. We'll also have information booths and tables that people can learn more about organizations that are helping first responders. So come to these events, support them, get your tickets. And I look forward to meeting you. I look forward to seeing all of you in Huntington Beach. Look forward to seeing all of you in San Diego and wherever we go on our tour next summer. Hey, if you want to join us for a day or 2 or 5 on our bike tour, let me know. After the first couple of weeks, John and I will be in pretty good shape, so you'll have to keep up with us. But my friend Ryan says, the road will train you. So after about 2 weeks, he said, you'll be in fine shape. So if you're joining us after the 2-week mark, be sure to be in shape because we're going to ride pretty fast. So we're looking forward to coming. Matt, any final words that you want to share?
I just, I was sitting here thinking, I'm just really appreciative of the city of Huntington Beach and especially the churches that have opened up their doors to showing this film. It, being a believer, it's really nice to get the support of the churches. They've been amazing, and so I just wanted to thank Mark too for all his help and for the work that him and I kind of do offline together, and looking forward to doing more. So, and of course you, Conrad, and all the hard work you put into this. Like it's like Mark said, you're really gonna save some lives with this one, and I'm just really grateful for the opportunity.
Awesome. Mark, anything you want to share with your people there in Huntington Beach about the event next week?
Yeah, well, if anybody is on the fence about going or not going, go. If you're nervous about it, if you're a first responder watching going, you know what, this is really talking to me, but you're doubting whether or not you have the willpower to get up and go and do it, go. And the fact that you have professionals there to help, that's icing on the cake. And, if you are one of those people on the fence and you decide to go, I guarantee you that this is your first step in getting better, feeling normal. So that would be my advice. Get to this show. Unfortunately, I'm going to be working, but what's nice is I work about a mile from the location. So I intend, as long as we're not chasing somebody, to come in and say hello and see everybody.
Well, hopefully you won't have to chase any bad guys that night. So we'll look forward to meeting you in person at some point. If you're not there that night, maybe we can meet someplace offline. I'll be there for a couple of days. So
wonderful.
We can connect. That would be awesome. So there's a link for your tickets, PTSD911movie.com/tickets. Get your tickets there for any of the events coming up, for all of the events around the country. That's where the tickets will be. If we are if you are partnering with us to host an event. In fact, I saw one of my connections, D, up in Monterey. We are working with some folks up in Monterey to bring this movie to Monterey, California. We are also had someone from Las Cruces, New Mexico, said, bring it. Let's do it.
I know her.
Let's bring it to New Mexico.
She's awesome.
So we are looking forward to all those things. And so if you are in any of those cities that you want to bring the film, just go to our website, fill out the form there, get some information about it, and we'll get you connected, and we'll bring the film. In the meantime, we're coming to California. Looking forward to be in Huntington Beach and in San Diego next week. Maybe, Matty, if we have time, we can go to the coast and look at a surfboard, maybe.
Oh yeah, we'll get you out there again.
We'll see.
I don't know if you want to be swimming in the ocean right now. It's raining, it's a little disgusting, but
right, yeah. But anyway, we can talk about it anyway. So, well, guys, it's been great having you on the program. Thank you for everybody for being here, for all of our friends that have been watching online, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. Please share the film with your network. Share it widely and invite people to come to. If you know someone in Huntington Beach, if you know someone in San Diego, send them the link. Say you need to go see this movie. It'll change your life. It might even save their life. So that would be great. And Matty, thank you for being here. Mark, thank you for your passion for what you do and for serving your community and for taking care of yourself and for taking care of others around you. I really appreciate that from both of you guys.
Thank you. It's an honor.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching. We'll be back again sometime very soon for another episode. And so stay tuned. And Mark and Matty, hang on as we sign off. We'll talk offline. See you guys. Have a good night.